Hey friends, welcome back to the Alex Makes VR podcast. Super quick one today. I've just been thinking a lot recently about my life. Do you ever do that? Do you ever just get into those super kind of reflective moods where you just kind of look back at your life? And I'm a big nerd when it comes to like looking at things like quantum lives and theories on parallel universes and coincidence versus fate and happenstance, and sometimes I can't help but go down a bit of a rabbit hole and look back at my life and all of the key pivotal moments and the people that affected it and the decisions that I made that led me to where I am. And when I look at these moments in my life that have led me here, I can pretty obviously see a pattern. And that pattern is that usually every kind of 3 or 4 years, I have a massive change of heart about things. Something in my gut tells me that what I'm doing is not quite aligned with what I should be doing. I can't really explain it. You know what I mean? Like, I know that people talk about this idea of like purpose and like finding your purpose or finding your why. And I don't know to what extent I kind of believe in that. I think that your purpose and your why changes a lot throughout, and at different stages in your life, different things are important to you. But every stage in my life where I've gotten to probably like the height of a certain career, I've realized that this doesn't feel right anymore, and I feel like I need to make a change. So if I take you back, not a lot of people know this, but I was actually a world champion martial artist when I was a bit younger. So by the time I was 16, I was a 2nd degree black belt in Korean karate and kickboxing. And I had 3 world titles, and I was very much set on a path to finish my GCSEs at school at 16 years old and go straight into being a full-time martial artist. I was already an instructor at my martial arts academy. I was already a captain of a team that would compete at national and international levels. I was part of the Team Great Britain for it's not like the Olympics, but it's like the World Series for the very specific kind of martial art that I did, which, like I said, it was kind of like a combination of Korean karate and kickboxing. But anyway, long story short, I was dead set on that career. I thought that was my life set. I thought that I'd found my purpose. I was already very accomplished by the time I was 15, 16. And I really thought that was it. I was going to commit to that. And then something kind of happened at 16. And I remember having conversations with my parents. And also just around this time, I started to discover editing. So my parents bought me Final Cut Pro it was like a Final Cut Express. It was like the cheap version of the Final Cut suite. And they bought me lessons at the local Apple store to learn how to edit, because I'd gotten really interested in music videos and also my dad would like film and edit some of the karate performances or like fights so that I could watch back and see what I did right and wrong and that kind of thing. So I would watch him on like iMovie and I would be like, I want to do that. And so I started getting interested in editing and media and that kind of thing. And I started really excelling at that at school and getting full marks for like some of my practical media things, whilst not failing but doing pretty miserably in more of like the science-based stuff. And I realized that actually maybe I didn't want to commit to this life of just doing martial arts forever. Like maybe I wanted to do other things as well as. So I changed my mind. I and I decided to go down the path of editing, and I stayed on to do my A-levels, which for the which for the non-UK listeners is the equivalent of being like a senior in high school, I guess, in America. It's like that bit before you go to university, if you do go to uni. So yeah, I like really leaned into that passion, and I made like projects with my friends and my brother. Like I remember we were joking about this the other month, actually. Me and my younger brother used to make little parody videos on YouTube when YouTube first became a thing. So I've got emails from YouTube from 2005 when our videos were something like the 130th top ranked videos of the week. Can you imagine if we'd stuck with that? Oh, this would be a very, very different conversation, I think. But yeah, so I got super into doing videos, and I decided to pursue that career. I decided to actually, when I turned 18, I stepped away from martial arts altogether, actually, which looking back was probably a bit extreme. I probably could have just carried on in a different city. But this was because I decided I wanted to pursue this career in television and making films and music videos. And so I went to university to study that, which in hindsight, terrible idea. Anyone listening, I mean, I don't want to be the one to shit all over uni for you, but you don't need a media degree to be in the media. But that's for another episode. So I go to university. I like basically sack off my martial arts career, and I go all in on building a career for myself in the media industry. Long story short, I get my first television job while I'm still at university. It's with ITV Studios down in London. Oh, in fact, I kind of do a work experience with Sky Movies first, but then the first job I get is this little contract at ITV Studios. Very exciting, super pumped and proud. And I remember graduating and kind of moving straight into the TV industry, just getting stuck in. I get like I basically end up at this small startup TV studio in the Midlands, and I managed to land them their first bit of commission by Channel 4 with an idea that kind of came out of it was like it was inspired by this random dude that I met at this classic car show who was like an absolute treasure. Like he was just like the most bonkers character you've ever met, and I was like, this guy needs a TV show. So we ended up pitching it to Channel 4 and like landed them their first commission, and it was all very exciting. And I was like, yes, okay, oh my god, this is perfect. I found what I love to do. I'm all in on this. Long story short, I feel like I've talked about it in this previous episodes, but I moved to London. I start making my way up in the TV industry, and around probably 4 or 5 years in, I start to kind of get that feeling again of like, is this it? And at this point I'm working with people that I don't particularly like, and I'm having quite horrible experience of living in London, and I'm just like, God, wow, like this is not at all what I thought it would be like to work in the TV industry. It started off so good, and now it doesn't feel so good, but I'm committed to it now, and I'm kind of getting all of this like this validation from my family and friends who think it's really cool that I'm like a producer in this world and I'm working on these projects, and I get to, go to all of these fancy events and fly around the world doing this thing. And I'm like, oh, but it doesn't feel right. It doesn't feel comfortable. I just feel like something's wrong, and I know that I need to make a change. So again, at 20, I was just about to turn 25, or maybe I think I might have just turned 25. I basically literally overnight, pack up my stuff and move out of London. I quit my job at this TV station, and I basically leave the TV industry. And I'm like, I have absolutely no idea what I'm going to do. So I'm just going to travel for a bit. So I go and travel, and I kind of I'm in a bit of a weird quarter life crisis phase where I'm like, I have absolutely no idea what I'm doing with my life. I've already had these two already had these two careers, and like neither of them have really felt quite right by the time I'd gotten into the swing of things. Like maybe I'm just a quitter, like maybe I'm just like, I'm one of those people that just does stuff until I'm good at it, and then I just like get bored of it and move away. Like, what's wrong with me? Like just all of that kind of self-doubt and pressure that you put on yourself, especially in your mid-20s, when you're like, the world is telling me I should have it all figured out, but I have absolutely no idea what I'm doing. And especially when, you know, you see your friends who are in like a similar ilk as you and same age and stuff, and they're doing great, and they're like, they seem to just be on the same path, and they've had the same job since they graduated, and they seem fine. And why is no one talking about the fact that secretly this is actually really hard? And I just felt shit about myself. So I moved to Canada, because that's what you do when you feel shit about yourself. And it's there that I really gave myself some time to think about what I wanted to do. And I didn't really know, but I just started writing. I thought about the fact that the thing that I really loved about doing martial arts was the fact that a lot of the TV shows when I was a kid were around martial arts. So whether that was Power Rangers or Dragon Ball Z or Xena the Warrior Princess, like all of these shows that had a huge impact on me, that just happened to revolve around these warrior characters, these martial artists. And thinking how funny it was that it kind of ties back to that, and then thinking about why did I enjoy making films? Why did I enjoy making little projects with my brother? Why did I want to learn to edit when I was like 16 and all of my friends were like just busy going out, like trying to get fake IDs to go clubbing? Like why, what led me there? Like what was the passion behind that? And I realized that I liked making my own things. Like I didn't necessarily like being a little cog in a big machine. I liked being the cog, the cog that kind of just twirled around by itself a little bit. So I started writing, and the literal first ever script I ever wrote was Key to Like. And that obviously set off a massive chain of events. And when I first experienced VR, when I came back to the UK in 2016, when I first experienced VR, I was like, holy crap, like, I don't know what I'm doing and I don't know where I want to go, but I know that this seems like something that I really am quite interested in. And the thing that appealed to me about VR was this idea that you could just do everything yourself. In fact, you had to, because you had to kind of know how everything fit together, and no one really was doing it. So it wasn't even an option to try and like be part of someone else's team. And I liked that. I liked that I was making my own projects again, and I was having to challenge myself and learn something totally new. And then I started connecting with the community and seeing like, wow, like what an amazing thing to be a part of. Like, I'm so into this. And as you know, the rest is history. But even in the last kind of year, I've had those feelings again. And I've been very open about talking about this with people in the industry, and I've talked about this online. I've had that same feeling of like, oh, I can feel it bubbling again, of like, I don't know, I feel like I love this industry, but also there's so much more that I want to do. There's so much more that I want to be. And it wasn't until I started kind of, I don't know, I feel like it was when I started kind of doing more stuff and working with Ben Claremont, who, if you don't know, I'm sure a lot of you listening will already know who that is, but he is a 360 influencer. He has like a phenomenal YouTube channel with everything you basically need to know about everything 360. When I started working with him, and I started doing kind of like little projects with him, and also working with him and seeing like the behind the scenes of how that world works, and also just seeing like the kind of messages that he would get from people. And he said to me, he was like, yeah, you need to just start like putting your best advice out for free. Like, you just need to like start, you've got so much knowledge, especially on the business side. That's like your superpower. Like, why wouldn't you share that? Why wouldn't you want to like talk about that? And I was like, oh my God, you're right. Actually, yeah, I feel really passionate about that. And so I started putting out stuff online, whether it was like doing videos with him, or whether it was starting to talk a little bit more online and put out a little bit more. And obviously it kind of peaks and troughs, because I was still running a company, and am running a company. So obviously I go through periods of working on bigger projects that kind of take me away from the online space. But even now, in recent years, working on my own projects doesn't give me as much satisfaction and fulfillment as when I put out a small little clip on Instagram about going after a 360 client and this is how you can make some money. And when I get 4 emails back saying, this changed my life, like this got me more clients. And I was like, whoa, holy crap. That's amazing. Like that feels better than anything. That feels way better than, having a piece premiere at a festival. Like this, like actually having impact, like talking to you guys, giving away my best advice for free, like just putting it all out there, like that makes me so happy. And of course, there will probably be times in future, many a times, where I change my mind again or I lean into something new. But what I've learned throughout this journey so far is that admitting that you were wrong, or not even admitting that you were wrong, but giving something a go and then being okay with the fact that you might change your mind, it's a real superpower. And that is literally, I can pinpoint those most pivotal moments throughout my career have been the moment where I've realized this isn't right. I thought that I wanted this, or I've done this for so long and now it doesn't feel right anymore. Now it doesn't fit with who I am as a person, or it doesn't fit with my morals, or it doesn't fit with what I want for my life right now. And I've changed my mind and I've never looked back. And that's the truth. Can you imagine what my life would have been like if I had quit school at 16 and gone all in on a career in martial arts? Like, my life would be, I can't even contemplate who that person would be. So many of the things that have defined me since 16 have been the people that I've met along the way on this journey, who have like shaped my whole way of thinking, who have exposed me to new things, new interests, new thoughts, new ways of life. And if I hadn't had some of the more horrible experiences, some of the more like soul-crushing identity crisis, what am I doing, like moments, I wouldn't have like traveled the world, which in turn would have meant that I wouldn't have written that script, because so much of that script is about, so much of Key to Light, the script is about that identity crisis that you have when big pivotal things happen, and that wrestling between holding on to the old you and the new you. Like that's, I think it's really funny, because not to be too artsy-fartsy about it, but the way I really love to write a script is so that like it works on loads of different layers. So you could read it on the surface level as just an interaction between two women. Like you could just, then they're just having a conversation about love. You could go a bit deeper and maybe look at the fact that, oh, actually what they're exploring there is like, these different ways in which it's appropriate to deal with a breakup. Like, do you hold on to that memory? Do you like keep that person in your life? Or should you like cut them out and forget those memories and try and erase that? And then as you start to get deeper and deeper, the actual context of that piece is it's about those two pulling sides of yourself about everything in life, where one is like desperate to try and move on from anything in life, and the other piece wants to hold on to it. And it's a balance between, don't just run off and erase, because actually so much of that experience has shaped who you are. So much of that experience has contributed to where you are, but also don't romanticize the past. And don't be stuck there just because it hurts to move on and it hurts to change your mind. And that's what I want to leave you with in this episode today. The actionable advice. This has been like story time with Alex. The actionable advice is don't be scared to change your mind. If you're listening to this and you don't currently work in the VR industry, chances are you're mulling over having a change of direction. You're mulling over this idea of leaving what you're currently doing and jumping into something new. Or maybe even you're just going through a time in your life where there is something bubbling, or there's something going on in your personal life where you know that it's time to move on. You know that something's not right. You know that you need to make a change. But you're scared to, or it doesn't feel practical, or you're not sure what it would mean. And all I want to leave you with is that changing your mind is a superpower. And one of the best ever pieces of advice I ever got was that if you carry on the same path, you already know what the outcome is. You know what happens if you live the life that you're currently living, because you've lived it. You know where it takes you. You know where that path ends. But what you don't know is how different or how much better your life would be if you did change path. And that's what life is all about, right? So change your mind. Change your mind. Be proud. I think so much of society has put this pressure on us to not change our mind. And that's because society is not built for people to be unstable and to, be quote unquote flaky and to have the ultimate freedom of deciding exactly what they want to do because they have complete agency over their life. No, society's not built that way. Society is built to have people in jobs for as long as possible, and they pay their taxes on time, and they pay their mortgages on time, and they are rooted in one particular place with one particular family and one particular purpose for the rest of their life. And that's because that helps the government and that helps society function, but it keeps the majority of people oppressed because it keeps people in their places. So for so long, people have condemned changing your mind. They see it as a bad trait, but I see it as the ultimate. When I meet people that have changed their mind and they own it, or they're in the process of changing their life, they're making big decisions, and they are kind of humble enough to admit that, you know what, I tried this thing and now I've changed my mind. I admit that I was wrong. I tested something, it didn't work. Now I've changed my mind. I respect the shit out of that. I respect it so much. And not that it matters what I think of it. You gotta like who you are when you go to bed at night at the end of the day. And you gotta like the life that you live when you go to bed at night at the end of the day. So change your mind. That's what I'm going to leave you with. If you've enjoyed this episode, please reach out and tell me. It's a bit of an echo chamber when you literally are walking around your house recording podcasts to your phone. So I would love to hear from you. Alex Makes VR on Instagram and Twitter. Please, please, please just take a second to follow or subscribe to the podcast on whichever platform you're listening. If you're on Apple Podcast, if you could also just quickly give me a rating, that would be amazing. Takes 2 seconds. And you can sign up for the newsletter where I send out tips, tricks, insider scoops on the VR industry and my best kind of advice about building a business or a career that you love in this space. You can sign up for that newsletter at alexmakesvr.com. With that being said, have a phenomenal rest of your day, and I'll speak to you very, very soon.